Can you hear me now? There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toronto International Film Festival's Industry Conference. My name is Julia Shingavi, and I'm TIFF's Manager of Industry Conference. This is our final session of the day in the studio. However, right after this, we have a micro session, Let's Talk Future of Cinema Technology in Conference Room B, and Connections, the Reframe resource in Conference Room A. And after today, the industry conference continues with 4 more days of incredible programming. We hope you continue to join us through the coming days. To begin, we encourage you to reflect on the land that you are on and its history. Glen Gould Studio is located on the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit and the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, and the Haudenosaunee. The territory is within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant and is home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We are so grateful to work on this land and to bring the work of Indigenous artists to our audience. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce our next conference session, Perspectives Comedy Creators. For this conversation, we're joined by 3 distinguished comedy writers who will discuss the current landscape for prominent voices in the industry. We'd like to thank our lead sponsor, Bell, major sponsors, RBC Visa and Bulgari, and our major industry supporters, Telefilm Canada and Ontario Creates, and our media supporter, Screen International, for supporting the Perspectives strand. Guiding us through this conversation is writer, director, and showrunner Romeo Candido. Romeo, the floor is yours.
Check. Hey. How's it going? My name's Romeo Candido. I'm a writer-director. I just finished directing Working Moms last night. So, yay for me! So if my language is a little bit spicy today, you could blame Catherine Reitman and co. So today we have an amazing panel. I know, Steven Spielberg is coming to the festival and all these important people, but I think we got the banger of a panel. We're gonna do a little bit of interview with the people, and then we'll open the floor up to our esteemed audience. Any writers in the house? Any directors in the house? Any filmmakers in the house? Any Joel Kim booster stands in the house? Oh my God, just relax, everyone. Okay, so the first person I'm gonna bring up to the stage has a Netflix special called Psychosexual, a stand-up special, is a star on Apple TV in the show Loot with my future wife, Maya Rudolph, because we can all dream. And as Beyonce released the album of the summer, we all believe that this person released the movie of the summer, Fire Island. Did anybody see Fire Island? Okay, so if you can give a nice, warm welcome to Mr. Joel Kim Booster. They're thirsty. Okay, so the next person up is the Polaris Award winner, Grammy nominated, Barack Obama playlisted. She is an artist, a visual artist. She is a mom, she's an activist, and now she can add showrunner and creator to her long list of accomplishments. Everyone, Lito Pimienta. Mixed signals. She's like, never mind, please. And last but not leastly, if you do not know her name, you will know her content, you will know her projects, you will know her stories. For me, I discovered her watching Girls Trip. She currently has a show on Amazon Prime called Harlem. That's an easy one, 10 episodes, charcuterie board, red wine, you can finish it in a day. And she is here with her new movie, The Blackening, directed by Tim Story. And if you need more stories in your life that focus on Black friendship, this person is for you, Miss Tracy Yvonne Oliver. I mean, I feel like Kevin Feige, and I just introduced the new, like, intergalactic superheroes here to destroy comedy that has no seasoning. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of an icebreaker and mic checker. Something for all of you, we'll start this way, we'll go that way. Something that has made you laugh out loud recently or laughed quietly in a darkened room with blinds closed. So we'll start with you, Joel.
Okay, so this is the hardest I've laughed in a little while. I was at Burning Man a couple weeks ago. For those of you who are familiar with what that is, it's a desolate desert that turns into a city very briefly. And I was sitting in a porta potty in the middle of the desert, and I looked up and I saw a Shen Yun ad. And I was like, wow, they really are everywhere. You cannot escape Shen Yun, no matter how hard you try. And it was a real moment of joy and laughter for me in the porta potty.
On the porta potty, okay, I can't with that. Next up, Miss Lido, something that has made you LOL.
How can I say it in a delicate way? The queen dying, it was not that I want anyone to die. It's not funny that someone dies. But, you know, when your people has been suffering because of her living conditions, you can't help but laugh at someone else crying. I think that's what it is. People crying about her death, that made me laugh. It's just hilarious.
I was expecting like funny memes or Buster Keaton.
Well, go on Twitter. There's a plethora of memes for you to enjoy.
Okay, fair. And for you, Miss Tracy, what has made you LOL?
I can't believe you actually said it. I can't top that. So I'm gonna go really dumb and random, but this is a personal one, and it wasn't funny yesterday, but now I can laugh. I put a lot of time into packing my bag and did not pack underwear. Like literally, I have like 12 pairs of socks that I won't need because it's hot as shit in Toronto, but no underwear. So then had to Google drugstores still open last night, and I bought some drugstore underwear. And if you guys want to know where drugstore underwear is, I'll tell you. But yeah, that was cracking me up this morning as I was putting them on for the first time.
LOL. So we have a little high, we have a little low. Okay, so I'd like to start with this first question. When I was announced to moderate a Talk with Joel Kim Booster, I got a whole bunch of hate tweets like, I can't believe you get to sit with him. So I think the first thing I saw of yours, Mr. Joel, was a stand-up set you did on the Conan O'Brien show. And you had a joke that I just thought was so economical. It's a super banger. It's like, I knew I was gay before I even knew I was Asian. And it's just one of those jokes that it's short, it has many layers, but in order for us to dig into your origin story, because people might not know, can we dig into that joke and how that idea resonates through your storytelling and comedy?
Yeah, I mean, that joke was one of the first jokes I ever wrote, and it is like many good jokes, it comes from just a place of truth. I'm adopted, my family is white, I was adopted when I was a baby, and so growing up in an all-white family in an all-white town, my conception of race was a little fucked up from the get-go, but I remember very distinctly at 4 years old telling my brother and my sister that I liked to look at naked boys. And it wasn't until I was like maybe 7 or 8 at a family reunion in Alabama, Birmingham, that I was like, something's not right. one of these things is not like the other. And so it literally was the quickest and easiest way for me to explain sort of where I am at in terms of my identity, of always feeling slightly out of place no matter where I am, because I came to one identity before I came to the other, which is not normally the route that many people take.
And I think the one not like the other, I think that will resonate in this conversation a couple of times. Okay, so Lido, it is said that humor is 90% surprise. And when I watched Lido TV, the show that Lido is the creator, showrunner, along with Sean O'Neill, that drops on CBC Gem, that premieres here at TIFF. When I was watching this show, it was 90% surprise through the whole thing. And if you can permit me, I would like you and me to, do you guys want to hear a song? Yeah, this will be the first Filipino-Colombian collabo ever at TIFF. And this will just get us into the talk about Lido TV. I'm so nervous. Okay. A is for apple.
Apple, apple, apple.
And B is for baby.
Baby, baby, baby.
And C is for
colonialism.
So, I think that is the spirit of Lido TV. There's this kind of, there's this warm, nurturing invitation into the storytelling, and then we get surprised because this show deals with very complex, very hard-hitting themes and ideas in a very irreverent, absurdist, but filled with heart kind of way. So, Miss Lido, can you tell us what is Lido TV, and tell us how it came to be?
Yeah, Lido TV is a variety show with surprising twist. It started when the pandemic started. Like, I started writing or workshopping an idea so I could convince my label to give me money, even though I wasn't gonna be able to go on tour. And then with my friends, we started this collective called BBB, which means Bueno, Bonito y Barato, which is stands for good, pretty, and cheap. And we were like, we should do like a YouTube channel. So in the exercise of experimenting, with music and my drawings and just experimenting on YouTube, Sean O'Neill from Visitor Media messaged me, and they were like, oh, why don't you, pitch me something and let's see what we do. And then that's how it started. And then Sean introduced me to the world of pitches and da-da-da-da-da, because I'm a musician from the YouTube Tutorial Academy. I don't do this. I don't do media. I don't do that. I get interviewed, and I try not to mess up, So this has been really great because I love to do art. I create, And for Lido TV, it was an opportunity to bring all of these lived experiences, all of these stories together. And I'm no stranger to the vitriol, online vitriol, and British subjects telling me to go back to my country that are born in Canada. I should just have that as a slogan and a T-shirt at this point. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to my country. Yes, I'm building a house there right now, and it'll be the most beautiful mansion that you will ever be able to look at. But in the meantime, I'm gonna make a TV show that is gonna piss you off so much, because spite. The strength and the motivation that I get just from doing things out of spite. And I'm a mother. I have 3 kids, so that's where the love comes from. But if I didn't have my kids, it would be, the set wouldn't be pink.
Well, it's a variety show that almost teaches people these complex issues in a digestible way, irreverent way, and a funny way. And we'll continue to talk about about that in a second. Ms. Tracy Y. Oliver. Okay, so as I was saying, I feel like the thread in your work is Black friendships, Black female friendships, in a way that's not archetypal, in a way that's not writery. Sometimes I'm watching some of the things that you're writing, and I feel like I'm a witness to real conversations and to how people really speak. And it's like your oeuvre. Is that how you say oeuvre? Like, anyways, it's your thing. It's like friendship and genuine friendship. And now you have moved this this way that you deal with friendships into a genre. So can you please talk? Because I watched The Blackening, and like tone-wise, it was like Scream. It's like Evil Dead, but the Black friend doesn't die first because everybody's the Black friend. And so. So can you please talk to us a little bit about The Blackening and how that came to be?
Sure. I have been a huge fan of horror for a really long time. I probably saw The Exorcist way too young. I think I was like 3 or 4. And my mom was really angry that my dad thought that was appropriate to show me. But it gave me nightmares, but I was also fascinated by it. And I've been a huge fan of Scream, and like just over the years just was like, should I stick my toes into the horror world? And for me, I was trying to figure out a way to do it that didn't feel like a total brand change. And so, like you're saying with The Blackening, it's got friends at the core of it, but it's comedy, it's genre, it's like thriller, there's like horror elements into it. And the thing that made me laugh, because it's based on a short that I randomly saw. It came to me from a friend, and I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. It was, what happens if everybody's Black in a horror movie? Who dies first? And I was like, oh, that's a really funny idea, because usually, like, when there's a joke that the Black person always dies first, and traditionally in these horror movies. So I was like, well, what happens if you put an entire movie of Black people together and you have all the same scares and the same stuff? And what I always found kind of funny about watching horror movies is people always act really stupid in them. And Black people would show up to the theater and we'd be yelling at them, like, bitch, don't do it. Why are you opening that door? So we were like, how do you kind of subvert this stuff when it's all Black people? Because we're known to show up to theaters and yell at people and, harass the actors as they're making these silly decisions. So I was like, okay, we're gonna put Black people in the same position that we have historically put white people in. And I'm now curious to see what people are gonna scream out at these characters. But what makes it kind of funny is that we're really meta within the movie. Like, we're acknowledging sometimes that the Black characters are acting white and that they're making decisions they shouldn't be making, and we're forcing them into situations that, like, historically we've been like, you would never do that, but what if they have no choice? And what if you put them in these scenarios? So it was a way for me to still kind of keep friendship stuff intact, but to really explore my love of horror movies, and I think it's really fun. I mean, you said it was fun, unless you're lying to me.
Not lying, I don't lie, but it's really fun, and it's premiering at Midnight Madness, so for those who want to scream and be at the loudest audience of the festival, that's going to be where to do it. Quick speed round, just so the people don't fall asleep. Books, podcasts, or anything that's been formative of your process as a creator. Just because we have a lot of writers, and so, Elephant, what's that book? Anyways, we just want books, or I know anything. But we want books or any podcasts or anything that we can share with them that has guided you, that's helped you as a creator. Really quick, anything? We'll start with you, Lido, since Joel is still thinking.
Because you want to put me in the spot?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. I don't listen to podcasts. Sorry about it. But most of the inspiration that has formed me in the context of this new TV world, Blue's Clues, the Comfy Couch, all of the, early Nickelodeon and Nick Jr., later Yoga Bagava. Like, I think that I'm very much like channeling my best Alison Cord, who was Lunette from The Comfy Couch. And I watched it when I was in Latin America, when I was in Colombia, so I don't know any of the songs in English and so that to me was like, okay, that's what it's good about, hosts, is that when you can really relate to them. And growing up, people always called me a clown, it's like in a derogatory way. And I think that I've embraced that, and I think that, it has been my lived experience to be like the that girl, what's wrong with that girl, So I think that really helped me in writing a song or writing the sketches for the show. It just comes from reality, and it is, my childhood was hilarious, because I'm the middle child. My mom was never there because she was always working, and my sister was like a diva that was raised to one day be a beauty queen. And then my brother was raised so he would one day become, I don't know, a drug lord. I don't know what he was doing, but it was toxic. So in the middle, there's me, playing Barbies well into like my 13, 14 years old, because I was building these worlds for them. So, I had imagination, but I also went to, it's similar to your experience. I went to a bilingual school, a good school, private school, the ones with the uniform. And it was called the Lyndon B. Johnson School. So in the Lyndon B. Johnson School, you were not allowed to speak Spanish, and you were not allowed to not be non-white. That was in the fine print. But my dad, my dad's family is black, and my mother's family is indigenous from the Wayuu tribe. So I did not fit, right? So to me, my childhood was already so charged and had so many different ways, because I lived in the city, but then I had to go to the desert and there was no running water. To this day, there's no running water in the desert for this indigenous group. So I think that TV and these kids shows, it was a place where I would escape all of this stuff. And I think that now it's coming up, because it's not writing a song, it's really, putting together and weaving all these stories so that it makes sense, for the 20 minutes of an episode in the context of the construct of the big Canadian landscape, so.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Perfect for a speed round question.
Sorry about it.
Joel.
Yeah, for me, I came to writing as an actor first. I was in theater school studying acting, and like many people, I began writing plays because I was bored by all of the things that we were doing in school. But the thing that guided me as a writer was the acting textbooks. Stanislavski's An Actor Prepares, taught me how to analyze a play and therefore how to write a play, and taught me specifically about focusing on character and focusing on what they want. And that is something to this day that I bring, I think, to anything that I write.
And you, Tracy?
I would say as a writer, I bet everyone's heard of this, anybody who's studied writing, but Save the Cat is it's so cliche at this point that people probably eye roll to hear it, but it's so good. And the reason why I keep using it is even though I've been doing this at this point a decade, maybe more than that, 12 years, I still return to it because it reminds you of all the markers that you're supposed to hit. And what I always tell people is get your foundations, get your basics, your structure, get all of that, and then be creative. Because a lot of people want to remix structure and remix and reinvent before you get the foundations. But I think if you use Save the Cat just to make sure you're hitting everything properly, and then when you have that solid draft, have fun with it, that's the best way to approach it. If you don't want to do a formulaic studio movie, I think do the first draft, get that tight, and then the next round after that, kind of remix it from there.
So Save the Cat, Stanislavski, children's shows from childhood. Who is the North Star for comedy for you? Like who is it there, for me, I've been on a bit of a James Burrows kick. He's the director of Cheers and Friends, and who are the kind of who's the benchmark for comedy for all three of you? So I'll start with you, Tracy.
Oh, I would have to say two people that I have finally just gotten an opportunity to work with, and I'm in awe of them both. One is Whoopi Goldberg, and the other is Amy Poehler. So I think they're just like goddesses to me, and I grew up on Whoopi and like the Sister Act movies and all of that, and to get to work with her is crazy. And then Amy Poehler I'm working with as well, and just like comedy and improv is so hard, and she's so great and like generous with teaching and all that stuff. So I would say those two. Yeah.
Joel?
For me, I mean, I am a gay guy, so most of my North Stars are women. And early days, it was definitely Madeline Kahn was a huge for me, and we were a Madeline Kahn house, and like I idolized her, I studied her. She is incredible. Watch What's Up, Doc, if you've never seen it. It's the best screwball comedy around. And then as I grew older, I mean, I think they say that like the SNL cast when you were 16 is sort of like exactly the best cast that you will always remember. And for me, it was those women. It was Amy, it was Tina, it was Kristen Wiig, it was Anna Gasteyer, Rachel Dratch, Maya Rudolph. All of those women really shaped my comedic sensibilities today.
Did you know Bowen before he was on the show?
Yeah,
or?
Bowen and I have been friends for almost a decade, and I wrote that entire script to be for Bowen and I before Bowen was on SNL, and no one wanted to pick it up. And then suddenly, after he was super famous, everyone wanted to make the movie. So very convenient. If you ever want to get a script made, make sure your friend gets famous first. That's my best piece of advice.
How about you, Lido? Is there a person that you think is just funny forever?
My holy trinity are, in no particular order, Monique, Margaret Cho, and Cat Williams. Problematic, but still hilarious.
Margaret Cho in Fire Island. I mean,
She raised me.
yeah, for Asian people doing funny things, Margaret Cho for a long time. I hate being on diversity panels, and I hate talking about representation, but we're gonna talk about representation just a little bit, mostly because the three of you are in the forefront of the kind of bringing your points of view to light. And let's just talk about, because we all know that culture is not a monolith and one experience doesn't represent everybody's experience, how much of the burden do you carry to get it right, to get gay Asian experience right, to get Colombian experience right, to get the Black female experience right? So let's start with you, Lido. What kind of, like, do you feel the weight of having to represent your culture in all of the work that you do?
No. And I'll tell you why. I realized that it's not my responsibility. I realized that I don't need to be that person, even though I feel like a lot of people in the media, they will give me those crosses to bear, you know, because I just think that I am an artist, first and foremost. I am an artist, you know, and it's very disappointing that, you know, if I write a song about a flower, it becomes the flower of the revolution. Like, I don't want that. I just want to write a song about a flower because flowers are nice. You know, and I am very intentional with what I do. If I want to write a song about a revolution, I will write it, you know, but I should be allowed to, you know, be tender and be funny and do all the things without that pressure, you know. I don't want to do more emotional labor than I have to, and it's already an emotional thing when you put yourself on the page, on the screen, into a song, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't want that, you know, and I think that we should be allowed to continue to create without having that pressure to represent an entire community, because it's not fair, you know? And it's not responsible. And it wouldn't be responsible of me to speak for all of Colombians. I hate half of Colombians. I pretend, when someone talks to me, I pretend that I'm Dominican the moment that I hear the accents, so that they don't talk to me, you know? Because Colombia is a complicated place, just like Canada is a complicated place, you know? It's like I critique it so harshly because I love it, because I had my kids here, and because I want to be able to, you know, cope with all of the things that I don't like about it. But we have to be honest, and it's just so cliche to, you know, believe that you, pathetic person that just barely learned how to wipe your own ass, are now the person that is the representation of your entire community. And like, I don't want that. Like, I don't want that.
Tracy, oh, Joel, I felt a microphone going towards your mouth. So, Tracy, like with you, I find that you have characters that represent a large swath of the Black experience. With the Blackening, kind of more so than a lot of the other movies, because you have a bigger cast. Can we talk about how you create the different characters to, because for me, I was watching it, and it represents a lot of people. So maybe black character, Black culture is not a monolith, but you get a lot of different viewpoints in there in the Blackenings. So can you talk to us about how you approach creating characters to do that?
Yeah, I would actually agree with you with the Blackening, because there's so many characters and they're all Black. You get to actually do a lot more diversity within the community than you normally get to do. So that was kind of fun for me to kind of be like, okay, if you have 7 Black people, what kind of diversity within the Black community can you explore? And there's one of my favorite scenes in the whole thing is they're debating who's the Blackest. And they have like their various reasons for it. And you know, it's basically satirical, but I just thought it was really cool that within a movie we get to talk about like what it means to be and not be Black, and then we're ultimately concluding that Blackness is whatever you want it to be. Like, we're not a monolith, there is no right or wrong way to do it, but I got to explore that within it. And I do want to comment on what, you know, Lito was saying. I admire that you have that attitude. I'm slowly starting to get to the place where I'm releasing that burden that people try to put on my content. I am really sensitive sometimes when I get someone who tweets at me or sends me messages and they're like, you hate Black men, or you hate this, or be better. It's like, oh my God. And it's overwhelming. And then I think, am I a bad Black person? Did I do something wrong? And then I was like, oh my God, why am I even listening to this? Because the problem is, whenever you create anything from your experience, whether you're Black or from any like marginalized community, the problem is there's just not enough content that caters towards these niche or smaller groups. So whatever you do is held under a bigger microscope, and you're just trying to create art. You're just trying to make something that people will enjoy and people will like. You're not trying to make a political statement. You're not trying to say this is how all Black women are. This is the representation that should stand for all of any group. And a lot of people will attack you on that. And so there's a lot of pressure when you're a creator of color that I don't think sometimes people realize, because you're just responding to people thinking that you're making commentary that's deeper than it is, and you just want to have fun. And I'm literally just now getting to the place where I don't care. Because you can't, it'll handicap your art if you're like in final draft being like, oh no, am I gonna get an open letter for this line? And that's how I started to think, because someone did threaten me with an open letter for the grapefruit scene in Girls Trip, by the way, for that being too sexual, and what are you doing? And you know, so I just have to let all of that go and create characters and create content that's interesting to me and what I hope will be interesting to a lot of people, and let all the other chatter go.
I will say, when we were making Fire Island, my director, Andrew On, the constant refrain from him because he knew who I was and I'm like you. He was like, we cannot make this movie for Twitter. We cannot make this movie for Twitter. Like, if you are focused on that, we will not make a good movie. And I was so thankful for that. But I think a bigger issue, and I think what we've all experienced too, is it's not even so much that we go into our projects saying, we are making something historic here, or we are making something important. It's the media that then goes to our communities and presents our work and says, do you see this? This is for you, and this is representing you, and this, you should feel this is important. Because, like, I know we made a really conscious choice during the Fire Island press tour not to hit, like, this is a historic moment in gay filmmaking, because I didn't want that pressure. It's a dumb, gay, like, summer getaway movie, you know, and I wanted it to be that. And yes, there are things that I'm really proud about that we talk about in that film, but it was not ever meant to represent everybody. And I think it's the media that sometimes really jumps at that to, like, present to us. And I think the other thing is that, I don't know, we get, and I'm sure you get flack for this too, of like, yes, I told a story with a lot of marginalized identities in it, but not every marginalized identity. And I got flack for not representing, you know, every part of the queer community. And for me, my response to that is always, you don't want me telling that story. I'm not the one to tell that story of your story. And I think the response should be less like tearing down these projects. I mean, obviously critiques should and will come, but demanding more from the industry. Not saying your story didn't tell my story and now I'm going to let you have it on Twitter, but saying I want my story told and demanding more from this industry, not from us necessarily.
Word.
Percent.
So sometimes I have conversations in writers' rooms or just in forums with people who are not from racialized communities, people who are not from queer communities, people who are, because before, and this might be not your experience, but before a lot of us, people of color, BIPOC, all the things, before we could put a pen to the paper to write a knock-knock joke, we are digging through colonialism, we're digging through scarcity complex, we're digging through imposter syndrome, we're digging through all of the things that as a BIPOC creator, we go through. And I find with all of the projects, there's like, every time we do something, there's a vibration of our pain and our resilience in everything we do. So, you know, Lido was watching an episode on Lido TV and you talk about the story about a soccer story, and it's traumatic, I'm sure, as a child, or you, like with you, the feeling of not belonging, with you being a Black woman in America. So why comedy? Like all of these, you could all tell a drama, like all of these things that you've experienced and all of this lived experience that you have can be one of these dramatic movies that TIFF, that play, that make people cry, that the critics love. Why comedy? So let's just narrow it down, why comedy? So Joel, why comedy for you?
I mean, for me, it was not necessarily even a choice. I mean, I made a really intentional choice, obviously, when I decided to start doing stand-up. But as a writer, and specifically as a playwright, I remember my dream in college was to write for The Wire. And I was like, I'm gonna write these dramas, and then I would write these really like dark dramas about, you know, incest and all of these things, and people would come and just laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. And it's because, yeah, exactly that. And I think, like, for me, I had this slow realization is that I'm about truth. I'm really, like, what I like to write about and the way I like to write is, at its core, truthful. And in life, there is no, like, one situation that is one thing. You know, no story, I think, no good story has, you know, all drama, no laughter, or all laughter, no drama. You have to have the mix of it. And I think, like, for me, it wasn't an intentional choice of comedy. It was just truth.
Okay, we're getting the Q&A from the audience, but does anybody have a quick question or a quick answer as to why comedy?
I'll say I just got tired of Black pain stories. I really did. I was like, I want to just go to the theater or just turn on the TV and laugh and be entertained. And there's so much more to Blackness than slavery and struggle. And I just thought we need to start telling like friendship and love and light and just happy things, and just, I wanted to laugh. I really did. That's all.
I would just say that I like comedy because it showcases how smart I am.
Great. And on that note, we will take some questions from the audience. And yeah, so I don't know how to do this. This hand over there, and then we'll get you after. So this, yes, you.
Hello. So my question is, as a writer, I find myself sometimes writing jokes, whatever, and I guess overthinking it. Or maybe you show someone else a joke and then they're like, oh, I don't get it, or I don't think it's that funny. So do you ever find yourself running into that? And do you sometimes have to trust in your own gut or intuition, or just how do you move past that as a writer, second guessing your jokes?
Jokes.
You just got to find your audience, babe. That's all. I mean, you're showing it to the wrong people. I think trust your gut is always going to serve you better in this world, and trying to reverse engineer it and try and write something you think someone else is going to find funny. And there are weirdos out there who took years to find their audiences. But it's worth the work, because you need to find the people that appreciate your special brain.
Do you laugh at your jokes before delivering the joke?
I mean, yeah, everything I say I think is funny. But specifically, there's so many things that are, when I go up on stage, I'm like, oh, this is just for me. There are a lot of jokes that I should probably take out, but every fifth show, when I get a little pop of laughter from the weirdos in the audience that the joke is for, that's gratifying. That's way more gratifying than the stuff I get many standing ovations for.
Did you want to say something, Tracy?
Yeah, I mean, I can, you're spot on that you can't just write for one person. Just somebody will get the brand of humor. Also, the brilliant thing about comedy is that I actually, and you can tell me, Joel, if you agree, but it's meant to be rewritten and punched up. So I think more than a drama, the brilliant thing about comedy is it's always evolving. Because I'll write something that was funny that day that a month from now, the joke doesn't feel as funny, or if it's a pop culture thing, it's now dated. And then you hear it come out of an actor's mouth, and then you're like, that didn't work. And so you're just constantly rewriting it anyway. So because I know that what I write today may be gone, it takes all the pressure off what I'm writing in the moment, if that makes sense. So just be I'm probably gonna rewrite this shit anyway, so let me just crank out this scene and go with what I think is funny, because it's gonna be revised anyway. And if you have that mindset that every joke doesn't have to be perfect, that it's kind of it's a process, then you don't have to overthink it, if that makes sense.
I mean, my experience is a little unique because I'm not really a writer of a writer's room. I started, comedy for me or my stories are a way of contextualizing my songs, because my songs are quite dramatic and they're very difficult. So for instance, there's a song that I do about, childbirth and, my period, and, my period is the lubricant to peg the patriarchy, So I would say that because the song is quite sad, and then at the end of the song people are crying, so I'm just kind of okay, if I just tell a funny joke, but then it develops because I keep trying it. Every night that I'm on tour, I keep trying it to different people, and sometimes it lands, sometimes it doesn't land, but I don't know, I feel you just practice really makes perfect, so I have this joke, this intro that I do where I say, we really need to take a moment of silence for the trillions and trillions of babies that we have lost into a sock, into a pillow, and sometimes at a random sink at the McDonald's. because what about the babies? And then I'll talk about, being pro-choice, right? So, and it's an uncomfortable subject. Abortion is so complicated and has so many layers, but, if a woman that seeks an abortion or needs an abortion, or any person needs an abortion, they're murderers, then everybody's a murderer. And then in the show, I'll ask everyone to raise their hand if they're a murderer. And then after the shows, the girls will come and like, oh my God, hi, Alito. This is my boyfriend, Jake. He's a mass murderer. Can we take a picture together? And I just think that that's golden, So humor and comedy, and like practice and like practicing your material over and over, even though sometimes it doesn't land, that has been good for me, like the YouTube tutorial musician,
I'm just the random sink in McDonald's. This right there.
Hello. I really appreciate this panel, and there was a moment about 15 minutes ago where I wrote this question down, and it really resonated with me about representing a community where I feel like that's something that's followed me throughout my entire career. And I feel the same way that you do, that we should be able to create the content that we want to create uninterrupted. But then there's a moment or an encounter with someone that makes me feel my identity in a way that I didn't realize, and then I feel this sense of responsibility. So I guess my question to you is, what's the goal? Like, what do you think the goal is? Is it to live in a world where we can create the art that we want to create and not necessarily have that conversation anymore because we've evolved past it? Or is it to take a back seat to that and leave it to somebody else and create what we're good at in this moment? Sorry.
I think the goal for me, anyways, and I can't speak for you two, but the goal for me has always been to open as many doors as possible and make as much space as possible for other people, because I think that something that a lot of non-marginalized people don't understand is they're so used to seeing every iteration of themselves on screen or in the media, and we only have this, small chunk of real estate to really pull from. And so the dream and the goal for me has always been to get as many as, put my foot in that door, get as many people in, and make sure that, eventually, someday, this question won't be an issue because we'll see every iteration of ourselves and our stories on screen as well. And that, for me, is the goal. I don't know if that answers the question, but that
I love that.
is for me.
I love that. So this is our last question of the day.
Oh, it better be good.
I know, honestly, if this isn't fire
pressure.
question, then I'm sorry for everybody else.
I'm privileged for the opportunity. And I know at the beginning we were all laughing about Queen Elizabeth's death, but I hope wherever she is, she finds peace and a lot of fire, hellfire, all around her. And I hope there's enough room for the rest of her family that's about to make their way there. My question that I'm burning to ask you guys is about collaboration and writing. And whether that's a writer's room, whether that's a writing partner, or just someone that helps you along the way. I want to hear your thoughts about what that collaboration process is like when you're working with someone else and not just yourself. And also, if you have a specific story about your first ever writing partner and how that opportunity came about, what that process was like when you were first writing with someone else. Was it cagey? Was it easy? Was there conflict? So yeah, thank you.
So Tracy, let's start with you because I feel like your writing game is deep, and you've had all of the configurations of writing and collaboration. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'm like the collaboration queen, it turns out, but my very first writing partner was Issa Rae, actually. And we were doing Awkward Black Girl together, and I would say there's so many things I've learned over the years about collaborations. One, that the biggest issue, honestly, is you have to pick people that not only you guys have like a synergy with your writing styles and your voices, but like personality-wise too. because you're spending a lot of time together. So you have to like who they are. They have to be ethical and have integrity. That's important too. I've seen a lot of partnerships in our business fall apart because people didn't have those upfront, uncomfortable conversations. So beyond the creative, there's a whole business aspect of it too. But to just focus on the creative part of it, you just have to have a similar voice, style, and then I think whatever they're good at, might be something that you're not, and then vice versa. I think somebody that compliments you in a certain way is also good. And for me, you have to remove the sensitivity out of it too. The worst thing you can be is defensive when people don't like something you've done or rewrite you, especially in a writer's room, but also if you're co-writing features, occasionally I'll rewrite somebody or they'll rewrite me, and you just kind of have to not be sensitive and be willing to be fair and collaborate with them and know that it's a give and take, and know that all of your stuff is not going to make it. And so I would actually just say the most important part of collaborating with other writers is all the other stuff, is just learning how to negotiate what works and what doesn't, making sure you guys are on the same page about what it is, having those uncomfortable conversations. But yeah, I write a lot with people, and the people that are not good collaborators are the ones that think everything they write is amazing and brilliant and precious, and you can't delete and they're, without them losing their mind. So don't be that person, and you'll be fine.
I think finding somebody who understands the core of what story you're telling is so deeply important. I mean, I agree with everything that Tracy said too, but I thrive on notes. I love collaboration, but only if I understand that the person that is giving me those notes knows what the core of the story that I'm trying to tell is, because then I know I can trust them. And then it doesn't, when they say, hey, you need to cut this joke, or you need to cut this 5 pages out of the script and kill your babies, it doesn't, you need to develop that trust, because you know that their intentions are coming from knowing the same core of the story as you. And that, I think, is the first step in finding a good collaborator for me.
I had a great experience in the writer's room, because I guess everything that happened with Lido TV, it happened really fast, and the choices were mainly me, because, my name is Lido. My show is Lido TV. Hello. But I had been following 2 people that I admire so much. So Sarah Hagi, who's this incredible writer, and to me, she's a comic, and she's a Black Muslim woman, young person that knows the internet inside and out. And I was like, I need to write with Sarah Hagi, and she will be my enemy. And that's our thing. And I also admire Tim Fontaine, who's this indigenous man, and he's behind the genius Walking Eagle News, who's this parody newspaper that, they focus on whatever the RNCP are doing or the government are doing, and they, it's very funny commentary from an indigenous or Native or First Nations land, so it's really great. And I just called both of them up, and I told them I have to show about different adventures that I'm having with puppets, trying to figure out about or investigate this very difficult subject matter, and they both liked it. So in the writer's room, which was my first writer's room, because when you write music and you're a solo musician, it's very dramatic and lonely. But in the writer's room, it was wonderful because you put an idea forward, and then you have people that will help you read it out loud. And just in the exercise of reading it out loud, you realize that it's not a good idea, or you're not that funny, or you're not as great as you thought, or this is a fantastic idea, and then you start collaborating. So I think that was my experience, there were so many things that I wanted to do that I thought were hilarious, but Sarah, with her experience, would tell me, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And then it helped me understand, and I think that one of the main things in my experience was respect. It was I respect them so much that I, knew that I was going to be learning from them, and that I had most of the ideas, but they really helped me shape it. So I feel like yeah, like feeling like you have someone backing you up and respecting and feeling that respect being reciprocated, that was really successful for our show.
And for whoever has the money bags in the audience, if you want to fund a development room with the four of us, then that'd be great. So I'm getting the tied up signals. This has been an incredible panel. I feel so honored to share space and time with the three of you. If we can give a round of applause once again, Tracy Vaughn Oliver, Lito Pimienta, Joel Kim Booster. I'm Romeo Candido. This is TIFF and Glenn Gould Studio. Thank you very much.